The massive space station hung like a glittering diamond against the black velvet of space. Its silver spires and crystalline domes reflected the light of 3 nearby suns, creating a dazzling display that would have left any first-time visitor in awe. But Ambassador James Walker wasn't here to admire the view. Standing at the viewport of his diplomatic shuttle, Walker straightened his dark blue uniform and checked his reflection one last time. 20 years of military service followed by 10 years in diplomacy had left him with gray streaks in his black hair and lines around his eyes, but his posture remained perfect. He knew that every detail mattered today. "Ambassador, we're ready to dock," the pilot called from the front. "The Council's honor guard is waiting at Gate 7. Walker nodded, taking a deep breath. This wasn't just any meeting. It was humanity's formal request to join the Galactic Council. After 50 years of space exploration and colony building, Earth had finally met the basic requirements for membership. The docking procedure went smoothly, and when the airlock doors opened, Walker was greeted by 6 tall, blue-skinned Meridians in ceremonial armor. Their leader stepped forward, towering over Walker by at least 2 feet. "Welcome to Central Station, Ambassador Walker," the Meridian said in perfect English. "I am First Guard Dax. The Council awaits." The walk through the station was clearly designed to impress or intimidate. Massive halls showed off advanced technology that made Earth's best innovations look like children's toys. Holographic displays showed thousands of worlds under Council protection, and members of dozens of alien species walked the corridors. But Walker noticed something odd. The younger-looking species, those who hadn't been in space as long, all moved aside when Meridians passed. They kept their eyes down. It wasn't respect he was seeing. It was fear. The Council chamber itself was a vast circular room with seats rising in tiers like an ancient Roman arena. The 7 high councilors sat at the top, all Meridians, all watching him with those unsettling silver eyes. "Ambassador James Walker of Earth," the central figure announced, his voice echoing. "You stand before the Galactic Council to petition for Earth's membership. Do you come prepared to present humanity's qualifications?" Walker stepped forward onto the speaker's platform. "I do, High Councilor Venn. Earth has met all published requirements for membership. We have stable colonies on 7 worlds. Our quantum drive technology meets Council standards, and our society has maintained peace for 20 years. Yet you were at war for much of your history," another councilor noted. "Your species is young, aggressive, unpredictable." Walker smiled diplomatically. "We have learned from our past, Council member. Humanity seeks to join the galactic community as partners and students." The session continued for hours. Walker presented data, answered questions, and navigated the complex diplomatic waters. But something felt wrong. The questions seemed designed to trip him up, to force him to admit human weakness. During a brief recess, Walker slipped away to use the refresher. On his way back, he took a wrong turn and found himself in a quiet corridor. Voices drifted from a nearby room. "The humans are advancing too quickly," a voice said. Walker recognized it as Venn's. "If we admit them now, they'll be impossible to control in a century. Look how they've progressed despite our attempts to slow their development. Perhaps we should arrange an incident," another voice suggested, "something to remind them of their place." Walker's blood ran cold, but his face remained calm as he quietly retraced his steps. Years of diplomatic training kept his expression neutral when he returned to the chamber, but his mind was racing. The Council wasn't what it seemed. Earth needed to know. That night, in his assigned quarters, Walker encoded a message to Earth Command. "Protocol Omega may be necessary. Council not what it appears. Advise caution and preparation." He didn't know it then, but he had just sent his last message home. The next 3 days on Central Station felt like walking on thin ice. Walker spent his time gathering evidence, carefully watching how the Council treated other species. Every conversation, every document he accessed told the same story. The Meridians weren't protectors, they were controllers. In his temporary office, Walker looked through trade agreements between the Council and newer member species. The numbers didn't add up. Hidden fees, unfair resource exchanges, and technology restrictions were buried in complex legal language. It was a system designed to keep younger civilizations dependent on the Council. Computer, show me technology sharing protocols for new members. Walker commanded. The holographic screen filled with data. His eyes widened as he read. The Council had been giving Earth outdated technology, innovations they had declared suitable for humanity's development level. Meanwhile, they kept the real advances locked away. Even worse, they had planted spies in Earth's research centers to report and suppress any discoveries that progressed too quickly. A soft chime announced a visitor. Walker quickly closed the files. Enter. Representative Tom Miller from the Centauri colonies walked in. His face was pale. Jim, we need to talk. Something's wrong here. Walker gestured to a chair. What did you find? The mining colony on Centauri Prime, Miller whispered. The Council's been stealing our resources. The shipping manifests show 3 times more ore leaving our docks than what we're getting paid for. When I tried to investigate further, I got locked out of the system. It's bigger than that, Walker said, showing Miller some of his findings. They're doing this to everyone. New species join thinking they're getting protection and technology. Instead, they get trapped in a web of debt and restrictions. Miller wiped sweat from his forehead. We have to tell Earth. Already did. But we need proof, real proof that no one can deny. Walker stood up and straightened his jacket. I have a meeting with the Trade Council in an hour. Keep digging, but be careful. The Trade Council chamber was smaller than the main hall, but no less impressive. 5 Meridian trade ministers sat behind a curved desk, looking down at Walker. Ambassador, the lead minister said, we understand you have questions about our resource allocation protocols. Walker kept his voice steady. Yes, I've found some concerning patterns in the trade agreements. It appears newer species are paying premium rates for basic technologies while providing resources at below market values. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Are you suggesting impropriety, Ambassador? I'm suggesting transparency, Walker replied. Earth cannot join a system that appears designed to exploit its members. One of the ministers leaned forward. Perhaps you misunderstand. The Council protects younger species from their own excessive ambitions. Without our guidance, they might develop dangerous technologies before they're ready. Like the quantum shield technology you've kept secret for 300 years, Walker asked quietly. The minister stiffened. The lead minister's silver eyes narrowed. Where did you get that information? Does it matter? What matters is that humanity won't be controlled. We won't be suppressed. And I promise you, if Earth joins the Council, we will expose every unfair deal, every hidden technology, every act of suppression you've committed. That would be unwise, Ambassador, the minister said softly. Accidents happen in space, even to whole colonies. Walker stood up straight, his voice firm. Is that a threat? A reminder of reality. This meeting is over. Back in his quarters, Walker sent another encrypted message to Earth. Evidence collected. Council threatening colonies. Prepare for worst. Remember Protocol Omega. As he pressed send, security alerts blared through the station. Walker looked at his computer. All his access had been revoked. His door slid open. An armed Meridian guard stepped in. Ambassador James Walker, their leader announced, you are under arrest for espionage against the Galactic Council. Walker didn't resist. He knew what was coming, but he also knew Earth was ready. He allowed himself a small smile as they led him away. The Council had just made their biggest mistake. The trial, if it could even be called that, lasted less than a day. Walker stood in the center of the Council chamber, now converted into a court. The usual grand lighting was dimmed, casting long shadows across the floor. Hundreds of alien representatives watched from the upper levels, their faces showing mixtures of fear, sympathy, and carefully hidden anger. High Counselor Ven's voice boomed through the chamber. Ambassador James Walker of Earth, you stand accused of espionage, attempting to steal classified Council technology, and inciting rebellion among member species. How do you respond to these charges? Walker looked up at the council, his chains clinking softly. I discovered the truth. That's my only crime. You keep younger species weak. You steal their resources. You hide technology that could save millions of lives. Your accusations are noted, Ven said coldly, and they only prove your guilt. A new message flashed on the massive screens around the chamber. Walker recognized the sender, Earth's Emergency Council. This is an official protest. The message read, Earth demands the immediate release of Ambassador Walker. Any harm to our representative will be considered an act of war. Murmurs spread through the watching crowd. No young species had ever dared to threaten the council before. Ven merely smiled. Your species' arrogance is remarkable. Perhaps this will serve as a needed lesson. He turned to the other council members, who nodded in agreement. James Walker, this council finds you guilty of all charges. The sentence is death, to be carried out immediately. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Public executions hadn't been used in council space for centuries. Even the guard holding Walker's chains stepped back in surprise. You can't do this, a voice shouted from the observation level. It was Tom Miller. Earth won't stand for it. Earth, Ven announced, will learn its place, like all others have. Another message from Earth flashed on the screens. This is your final warning. Release Walker immediately. Don't force our hand. Ven laughed. What hand? Your fleet is primitive. Your weapons are centuries behind ours. Your threats are as empty as your understanding of galactic politics. Walker stood straighter, looking directly at Ven. You're wrong about us. Humans aren't like the others you've bullied and controlled. We plan. We prepare. We remember. Brave words from a dead man, Ven sneered. Proceed with the execution. A guard brought forward a small device, the council's preferred method of execution. Quick, clean, painless. They claimed it was humane. Walker turned to face the watching species. Remember this day, he called out. Remember that Earth tried peace first. Remember who chose violence. The device touched his neck. Walker felt a cold sensation spreading through his body. But as his vision began to fade, he smiled. He knew what was coming. Earth had been preparing for something like this since they first met alien life. His last words were quiet, meant for Ven alone. Protocol Omega activated. As Walker's body crumpled to the floor, the chamber's lights flickered. Every screen in the station suddenly went dark. When they came back on, they showed a simple message. The Diplomat is dead. The warning ignored. Humanity's patience ends. Protocol Omega begins. Then every communication system in council space went silent. Every human ship disappeared from tracking systems. Every Earth colony vanished from sensors. In the confused panic that followed, Ven tried to appear confident. A theatrical display, he announced. Nothing more. Earth has gone into hiding like a frightened child. They will return, begging for mercy. But one old alien in the chamber, a veteran of countless conflicts, watched the chaos with knowing eyes. He recognized what the others didn't. This wasn't retreat. This was preparation for war. As the council rushed to understand what was happening, a final message appeared briefly on Ven's private screen. You killed our diplomat. Remember, humans don't forget, and we never act without a plan. The message vanished, leaving Ven staring at his reflection in the dark screen. For the first time in centuries, a flicker of fear crossed his face. 1 month after Walker's execution, the Council's central command room was in chaos. Reports flooded in from across their territory. All contact with Earth and its colonies had vanished. Every human ship had disappeared. Every Earth trading post stood empty. It was as if humanity had simply ceased to exist. Show me the Sol system again, High Counselor Ven demanded, staring at the main display screen. The image showed Earth's solar system, now surrounded by an unknown energy field that blocked all scans and transmissions. The Council's most advanced ships couldn't penetrate it. "Nothing new to report, sir," a junior officer said. "The barrier extends beyond Pluto's orbit. All our probes either bounce off or disappear completely." Ven slammed his fist on the control panel. "Impossible. No species at Earth's level could have this technology." An older council member, General Dax, watched quietly from the corner. He had opposed Walker's execution, and now his worst fears were coming true. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "that was their greatest deception, letting us think we knew their true level of advancement." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed on every screen. "Report," Ven shouted. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures everywhere." The sensor officer's voice shook. "They're appearing out of nowhere. Thousands of ships just appearing." The main screen filled with new contacts. Where empty space had been moments before, now warships hung in the void. They seemed to phase into existence like ghosts becoming solid. "Impossible," Ven whispered. "Where were they hiding?" "They were here all along," General Dax said quietly. "We just couldn't see them." Stealth technology beyond anything we imagined. The largest ship, a massive vessel that dwarfed the Council's biggest battlecruiser, transmitted a message. The screen showed a human admiral, Thomas Reed, wearing a simple black uniform with silver stars on the collar. "This is Admiral Reed of the Earth Defense Fleet," he announced calmly. "For 30 years, we've built this fleet in secret. While you thought we were struggling with basic spaceflight, we were perfecting quantum stealth technology. Every trade ship we sent out mapped your systems. Every diplomatic mission gathered intelligence." Ven found his voice. "This is an act of war. The Council will." "The Council will listen," Reed interrupted. "You executed our diplomat. You threatened our colonies. You tried to keep humanity weak. That ends today." On screens across Council space, the message played. Thousands of human ships appeared near vital Council installations, shipyards, and trading posts. Each vessel was positioned with surgical precision, the result of years of careful planning. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, "they're weapons. They're unlike anything in our database. Power readings are off the scale." Reed continued, his voice steady. "We're not here for revenge. We're here to end the Council's corruption. You have 2 hours to surrender control of your military installations. After that, we'll take them by force." The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. "They planned this for decades," General Dax said, shaking his head in admiration. "Every diplomatic concession, every seemingly primitive trade ship, every outdated technology we saw, it was all a mask." "Order our fleets to attack," Ven commanded. "We still outnumber them." "No," General Dax said firmly. "Look at their positioning. They're not just threatening us. They're protecting the younger species' worlds. Half our fleet would be destroyed before they reached combat range." As if to prove his point, a small demonstration began. 3 human ships near a Council military base fired strange weapons. The base's shields, the strongest in known space, vanished instantly. Its weapons went dead. In 10 seconds, the mighty fortress was helpless. 2 hours, Reed's voice came again. "Choose wisely." In the Council chamber, Ven stared at the screen showing humanity's fleet. The ships hung in space like dark angels, waiting. All his pride, all his species' arrogance, crashed down around him. Earth hadn't just prepared for war. They had already won it before firing a single shot. The countdown began. Admiral Reed stood on the bridge of his flagship, the EDS Revenge, watching tactical displays showing the positions of Earth's revealed fleet. The ship's dark metal hull absorbed nearby starlight, making it seem like a piece of space itself. Thousands of similar vessels held position around key Council installations, each one a testament to humanity's secret preparation. "Status report," Reed commanded, his voice calm despite the historical significance of the moment. "All ships report ready." Admiral, his second in command, Captain Lisa Foster responded. Quantum dampening fields are active around every major Council facility. Their ships can't power up their drives. Reed nodded, studying the massive holographic display showing Council space. 30 years of hidden fleet building had led to this moment. While the Council thought Earth was struggling with basic space travel, humanity had been creating weapons that could bypass any known defense. Message from Council Station, Foster announced. High Counselor Venn demands to speak with you. Put him through, Reed said, straightening his uniform. Venn's face appeared on the main screen, his silver eyes burning with rage. How dare you threaten this council? We've ruled space for 10,000 years. And that's exactly the problem. Reed replied calmly. You don't rule anymore. You oppress. You steal. You kill diplomats who discover your crimes. A new alert flashed on Reed's display. Captain Foster leaned in close. Sir, they're trying to power up hidden weapon platforms near their core worlds. Reed allowed himself a small smile. Don't bother, Counselor Venn. We found those platforms years ago. Check your systems. Venn's eyes widened as reports reached him. Every secret weapon, every hidden defense grid, every emergency system the Council had built over thousands of years. All dead, disabled by human agents who had been placing quantum disruptors for years. Impossible, Venn whispered. How did you hide all this? Simple, Reed answered. We showed you what you expected to see. Primitive ships with visible engines, obvious weapons, basic shields, all while our real fleet watched from quantum shadow space, gathering intelligence, mapping your weaknesses. The tactical display updated, showing more Council systems going dark as hidden human ships revealed themselves. Each vessel carried technology that made the Council's best ships look ancient. Sir, Foster reported, Council ships are powering down across all sectors. Their commanders are surrendering rather than face our forces. Reed watched as green lights flickered across the display, showing Council facilities coming under Earth's control. No shots fired. No lives lost. Just the culmination of decades of planning. 30 years ago, Reed said to Venn, when we first met your people, we knew. We saw how you treated younger species. We watched you crush innovation, steal resources, keep others weak. So we planned. Every diplomatic mission, every trade route, every seemingly simple human ship, all gathering data. Venn's face showed growing horror as he realized the full scope of humanity's deception. Your technology, it's centuries ahead of what you showed us. Quantum stealth drives, dark matter weapons, shield-piercing disruptors. Reed listed them calmly. While you thought we were barely managing fusion power, we were building a fleet that could match your entire force. A new message flashed on the screen. The last Council holdout had surrendered. In less than an hour, humanity had taken control of an empire that had stood for 10,000 years. Ambassador Walker's execution was your final mistake, Reed continued. It gave us the reason we needed. His death activated Protocol Omega, the complete deployment of our hidden forces. The bridge crew worked silently, coordinating with the fleet as it secured Council space. No alarms, no explosions, no desperate last stands. Just the quiet efficiency of a plan decades in the making. What happens now? Venn asked, his voice barely a whisper. Reed's expression hardened. Now we fix what you broke. We free the species you enslaved. We share the technology you hoarded. And you, he paused, letting his words sink in. You face justice for every crime you committed in the name of control. The screen went dark, leaving Venn to contemplate the end of his species' dominance. Outside, Earth's black ships hung in space, silent guardians of a new era. The age of Council oppression was over. The age of human justice had begun. The next 24 hours showed the galaxy why humans were different from any species the Council had ever faced. There were no mass battles, no bloody conflicts, no revenge killings. Instead, humanity conducted what military historians would later call The silent strike. Admiral Reed stood in the Council's former command center, now transformed into Earth's temporary headquarters. The massive screen before him showed the progress of humanity's carefully planned operation. Target list Alpha complete, sir, Captain Foster reported, marking off another set of objectives. All Council weapon stockpiles secured. No casualties. Reed nodded, watching as green indicators spread across the map. Each point represented a critical Council facility being disabled by specially trained human teams. They weren't destroying. They were dismantling, piece by piece. "Show me the prison centers," Reed commanded. The display shifted, revealing hundreds of secret facilities where the Council had kept political prisoners from various species. Human ships surrounded each one, their advanced sensors cutting through centuries of Council deception. "Breaking news from Prison Complex 7, Foster announced. "We found him, sir. The real Ambassador Walker." Reed's head snapped up. "Explain." "The Council faked the execution. They kept him alive for interrogation. He's weak but alive." A thin smile crossed Reed's face. "Get him to medical immediately. And make sure Ven knows his final deception has been uncovered." In another part of Council space, human ships performed a different kind of operation. Special teams accessed the Council's secret data vaults, revealing thousands of years of hidden technology and suppressed innovations. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving messages from 57 species. They're offering support, asking to join our cause." "Tell them to stand by," Reed ordered. "This operation needs to be precise. We're not here for conquest." The tactical display updated again. Council defense networks were being systematically shut down. Their communication relays were being reprogrammed. Their trade routes were being secured. Each move was calculated, designed to disable the Council's ability to control rather than destroy their civilization. "Message from Earth Command," Foster reported. "They're ready for Phase 2. Reed pressed a button on his command console. Across Council space, human ships activated special quantum transmitters. For the first time in centuries, younger species could communicate without Council monitoring or interference. "Release the files," Reed ordered. Instantly, proof of Council corruption flooded every communication channel. Trade agreements showing systematic theft. Records of suppressed technologies. Evidence of assassination programs targeting promising young leaders. Centuries of carefully hidden oppression, exposed in a single moment. "Council leadership is requesting terms," Foster announced. "No terms," Reed replied firmly. "They face trial for their crimes. The evidence is clear." In the holding cell where Ven and other Council leaders were kept, the truth of their situation was finally sinking in. They had spent centuries keeping other species weak, never imagining that one might simply pretend to be weak while building its strength. "Sir," Foster called out, "final status report. All objectives achieved. Minimal structural damage. No civilian casualties. Council military forces completely neutralized." Reed looked at the display one last time. In just 24 hours, humanity had dismantled an empire that had stood for 10,000 years, not through superior firepower, but through careful planning and precise execution. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Operation complete. Begin Phase 3, reconstruction and reformation." As the message was sent, Reed walked to the window overlooking the Council station. Human ships moved with purpose, their dark hulls reflecting distant starlight. They weren't conquerors or destroyers. They were surgeons, cutting out a cancer that had infected the galaxy for too long. "Captain," Reed said quietly, "make sure everyone understands. This wasn't about revenge for Ambassador Walker. This was about justice for every species the Council ever suppressed." Foster nodded, understanding the importance of the moment. "Yes, sir. And Walker himself. He'll see what his sacrifice achieved. A galaxy free from Council control. A future where every species can reach its full potential." As the day ended, news spread across the galaxy. The council had fallen, not to violence or war, but to human planning and precision. A new era was beginning, built not on oppression, but on cooperation and shared progress. The strategic strike was over. The real work of rebuilding was about to begin. 1 month after the strategic strike, the Grand Council chamber looked very different. Gone were the towering seats that had let council members look down on others. Instead, a circular table filled the space, with representatives from all species sitting at the same level. Ambassador James Walker, still recovering but standing proud, addressed the gathered representatives. His near-death experience had left him thinner, with more gray in his hair, but his eyes burned with purpose. Today marks the beginning of a new age, Walker announced, his voice carrying through the chamber. The Galactic Alliance replaces the Council. No more secrets. No more suppression. No more control. Around the table sat beings from 100 worlds. Species that had once feared to look at each other now spoke freely. Younger civilizations that had been kept weak now shared ideas with older ones. Admiral Reed, standing near Walker, activated the central display. It showed the first projects of the new alliance: shared shipyards, open research centers, and free trade routes. The Council kept you apart for a reason, Reed explained. They feared your combined strength. But humanity believes in something different. We grow stronger by working together. A young alien scientist stepped forward, holding up a data crystal. With the Council's fall, we found this in their sealed vaults. Plans for medical technology they kept secret for centuries. Technology that could have saved millions of lives. Share it, Walker commanded. Share everything. The time for secrets is over. In the station's secure detention level, Venn and other former council leaders watched the proceedings on a screen. They were awaiting trial for crimes against sapient beings. Every secret, every suppressed innovation, every killed diplomat now counted against them. Back in the chamber, Walker moved to the next phase of the meeting. Earth offers its quantum stealth technology to all Alliance members. Our ships will train your crews. Our scientists will share our discoveries. An older alien, his scales showing his great age, spoke up. Why? Why share such powerful technology? What do humans want in return? Walker smiled. We want what we've always wanted. A galaxy where every species can reach its full potential, where innovation is celebrated, not feared, where cooperation replaces control. The display changed, showing new star charts. Territories once locked under Council control were now open. Trade routes once restricted were now free for all to use. But how can we trust each other? Another representative asked. The Council kept peace through force for 10,000 years. They kept control through force, Reed corrected. Real peace comes from understanding, from working together, from helping each other grow. Walker pressed a button, and new images filled the display. Schools where different species could study together, research centers where scientists could share ideas freely, and shipyards where various civilizations could build vessels side by side. Earth doesn't want to rule, Walker declared. We want to build, to explore, to discover, and we invite all of you to join us. The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had been enemies under Council rule now shook hands, signed treaties, and made plans together. As the session ended, Walker and Reed stood at the chamber's great window, watching ships from dozens of worlds move freely through space. Was it worth it? Reed asked quietly. Your sacrifice. Walker touched his neck where the Council's execution device had nearly taken his life. Look out there, he said, pointing to a group of young aliens excitedly sharing tech designs. That's what we fought for. Not revenge, not power, but freedom to grow, to learn, to become more than what others decided we should be. Reed nodded, understanding. The Council thought they were the galaxy's guardians. They never realized they had become its prison guards. And now? Walker asked, watching a ship of mixed species launch toward unexplored space. Now we do what humans do best, Reed replied. We explore. We innovate. We help others do the same. As the day ended, the station's lights illuminated a new sign where the Council's symbol had once hung. Galactic Alliance, all species, all voices, one future. The age of the Council was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And humanity, once thought weak and primitive, had shown the galaxy a better way forward, not through force or control, but through planning, patience, and the desire to help all species reach for the stars together.